Welcome to the Profit Answer Man, Leslie Hassler. It's great to have you join us today.
Howdy, Rocky. I'm excited to be here.
And I'm excited to learn from you. Can you share a little bit about yourself and your business?
Sure. So my name is Leslie Hassler. I'm the founder of Your Biz Rules. We're a fractional C-suite firm, and we work with our clients to get them profitable, growing and scaling, all without the burnout. Me, myself, and I've been an entrepreneur for 17 years. So a lot of what we help our clients with, I lived firsthand in my first business, and really know what it's like to be on the other side, know what it's like to be struggling, but also know what it's like to be totally confident in control and growing the business the way you want it to be.
I think a lot of business owners don't believe it's possible. And if it's
Right.
not possible, they can't do it, right? But I can tell you it's extremely possible.
Yeah, it is so possible. And here's the thing, what you just expressed. I think for the people that where they found it, right? When you start to share and you say, oh, you hear your business colleague complaining about something or worried about something, and you say, it can be different. And they go, no, it can't because I've tried everything. You stop almost sharing the good news. You're like, you could do it a little differently. Because for so many of us, our businesses, our business experiences are very much our reality. Every problem is real. It is accurate that they have tried a lot of different things. It's just that they don't know what they don't know. And so until you get to the point where you're just fed up enough, unfortunately, you're not ready to listen. And I think this is so funny that this is what this started up with, because we have an upcoming book, Scaling Rich, and the story in Scaling Rich is exactly that story of that business owner who is struggling, who's trying to do really good work and trying to do all the right things, but ultimately is getting in his own way. And we kind of tell that story because you've got to see and listen and understand that you, as a business owner, if you are struggling, your thoughts are no different than the business owner, like Rocky is saying, like, I know what it's like to be over here. You're no different. It actually is very possible. It's just that you haven't seen the way yet. And so I think a lot of people need to see the how before they accept that it can be possible for them.
I believe that. Plus, my business is special. No one else has done business like I've done business. I just want you to know that.
Well, you know what? That's why I say we don't really have competition, because at the
Yep.
end of the day, nobody can show up like we do. Nobody can do the work that we do the way that we do it. What was there's a song from the 50s or 60s where it's like, no one can do the voodoo that you do so well. I think that's very true about small business.
It is very, very true.
Mhm.
And it's funny because I have all my competitors on the podcast. I'm like, you know, I'm okay with it. You
There's
want to
enough,
work with someone else? Go work with someone else.
because the work that you're doing, and especially like with you, we were talking with CFO services and you're working with money is personal. And at the end of the day, you've got to have a personal relationship with the person that you're trusting to look at the money. So I agree with you. It's like for our right clients, we are the right answer, but we're not the right answer for everybody. And that's okay.
It is very much okay.
Hmm.
So you also like profit first. How did
Yeah.
you learn about it?
My business journey, like I said, I've been through the school of hard knocks. I have had 17 years. My first business was from 07 to 14, and I had to learn a lot of money lessons. Like, just because you can manage your personal finances doesn't always exactly translate to business finances. There's some different habits that promote a healthy business that aren't personal finance, right? So I had to learn through that and come to it through my own. And I think I just heard somebody talking about profit first. So I read the book, and this, fast forward a few years, when Your Biz Rules is probably about 4 years old in 2018, I was just like, I'm going to put this to work in my business. I'm going to see if it's going to work, if it proves true. And it proved true quite tremendously. In fact, in 2019, by September, I had the opportunity where I could either take a big draw, or I could choose to pay ahead in my business. And I love growth. I love exponential growth. So I was leaning to paying ahead Basically what I'd say, giving the business a safety net. So in 2019, I paid for all of our operational expenses in 2020. And that was a huge gift.
That was the year of COVID, right?
It was. And our business, I had a couple of things. I mean, like some people thrived in COVID, other people did not. I am, at that point in time, heavily speaking. I had just wrapped up at the beginning of February one of our largest speaking engagements with several thousand people in the audience, right? And then COVID hit. No more speaking engagements. There went my marketing funnel, right? Right out the door really fast. And then we had some personal things happen, like my father-in-law passed away and had to take care of that. And so honestly, I was out of my business probably for, 6 or 7 months, but I didn't have to worry because my business was just fine. Right. And I was servicing our clients that we had at the time, and we were all doing the things you need to do. But I probably didn't start growing my business again until 2021.
Cash solves a lot of problems,
It does.
including sleep.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. And that's why I tell people, you got to do it. It's not hard. Make it work and figure it out. And when you have those large cash reserves, you have the ability to make choices.
And that's really okay. So that to me is the definition of freedom. And why do people get into business? For freedom. Yet freedom is the thing they sacrifice almost on day two, right? Day one, we're still happy because we're free. And day two, we start giving it away. And one of the ways we give it away is by not focusing on profits, not making profits the first goal, the quickest goal if you can, so that you can produce cash. Because every business owner I know that is fretting over a decision is fretting over it because they can't afford to lose. But business is risk, right? Decisions are hard. If you can't afford to lose, you also can't afford to win. And I think that's the gift that people forget to give themselves as business owners.
It is. And they don't take the time to think through it. Everything seems to be a fire. And when you're putting out fires, you're not working on your business. You're throwing money at problems in hopes that it solves them. It's Band-Aids.
Yeah. So in the book we released recently, First This and That, we talk a lot about money management. We talk a lot about money mindset and just helping people get more comfortable with money. And when you talked about the firefighting, that reminded me of one of personas. So we talk about 3 personas in the book. One is the ostrich. This is the person that says, like, I'm not a numbers person, la, 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 la. If I just do enough, it'll all take care of itself, right? And you're like, let's look at your profit and loss. They're like, no. I can't. They never make time to look at the numbers of their business. They stick their head in a bucket or a ground or something else. The second persona, though, the firefighting persona, is a rhinoceros. And I don't know if you know, but rhinoceros are considered one of the most dangerous animals on the earth because they spook easily. And when they spook, they charge. And if you can imagine that much mass charging at you, this is to me what the firefighting looks is. Crud, I need a computer. So now I have to go run and we have to go solve this tech issue. Oh, now we have a client issue. And now we're worried about whether or not we're going to get paid or whether or not this client is going to renew or something like that. So we run to this next little money issue. The goal is to be the owl, or the wise owl, the person that can see all elements of their business and make more strategic decisions. Because at the end of the day, the goal should not be to work on today's business today, but to actually be working on next month's, next year's business today. I know that the marketing and what we do in our own business isn't going to necessarily bring us a client tomorrow, but I'm building my clients a year from now, if that makes sense. So I just think it's this optic thing that as you mature in business, you start to see that just managing today is not going to get you to your goals. You have to start thinking more proactively, more strategically, and further out in your business.
You know what the owl says?
Who?
Yeah. Who can do this for me? Not, I got to do this. Who can do this for me?
You are totally correct. You are right on with that.
That is the key. The other thing that I think you mentioned money and you mentioned the way people talk about money. And the reality is most business owners have issues with money, and it's because most people have issues with money.
Yep.
And here are some of the things. There's this book that is talking to these kind of business owners,
Yeah.
and this is what they say. It makes me want to get in the fetal position and cry, right?
Yeah.
They say, I'd rather spend the weekend listening to my mother-in-law,
Oh,
or I work hard enough. The numbers will take care of themselves, right?
yeah.
You think they're going to solve, right? That's my accountant's problem. He doesn't care either. He's probably got a numbers issue himself or herself. So, like, you gotta get over these sayings, and you gotta face the numbers. You're the owner. Let's get
Yeah.
going here. It's not that difficult. All the stuff we do is like third grade math. You don't even have to be smarter than a fifth grader.
No, but you've got it right. I was just taking some notes based on what you were saying. Listen, we grow up with shame, we grow up with blame, and then we grow up with external things that prove or disprove our value. And it's that in that way, I think there's so much judgment around numbers. I remember, I mean, before even starting Your Biz Rules, I was having a conversation and I asked somebody what their revenue was because I was just curious about their business. And you would have thought that I don't know, I had asked the most inappropriate question in the world. And it just shows you how much emotion that we have with money and with what we're doing. So we like to say, look, don't judge the numbers because truly the numbers are just there to tell you a story. And if you don't know the story, you can't be a director. And really it's about finding power. So I, of all of our clients we've ever had, I have one who says they're a numbers person and they are a financial advisor, so it makes really good sense that they're not afraid of numbers, but everyone just isn't. And part of it is the vocabulary, the jargon, and I think really the applicability to day-to-day life. If you're working 10 hours, 12 hours a day, or even 4 hours a day, really hard, that sometimes, things like financial statements don't seem like they make sense to
They
what's happening
don't.
in your business, but they're valuable tools, right? They're snapshots that tell us different pieces of information. So I do think there's some element that we have to detach the emotion from the money, because otherwise you'll always make the emotional decision, which, hey, could be okay, but you may not be making the most informed decision.
And it's true. But I do want to hit on that point again.
Yeah.
Your financial reports are designed for accountants and
Yeah.
for Wall Street
Yeah.
and bankers. They're not designed for you, the business owner, to
Yeah.
truly understand your business. And that's the problem. You almost have to change the way you do. And that's what we do. We take the financial reports and we do wizardry with them so that when our clients see it, they actually see what's
Mhm.
relevant to them. They don't
Precisely.
see all of the silliness that goes on behind the scenes because it is hard. Like I've had to build out systems so that I can find the anomalies
Hmm.
and notice, hey, wait, that's not supposed to do that. How'd that
Yeah.
happen? What's
Yeah.
this? What's that?
Yeah. Um, we do something similar. We have a business audit. It's part of the process where we're looking at like 3 years. And the whole goal is to just visualize, right? And give our clients visualizations that actually make sense. But I do think people are don't understand. Like we try to help people understand what there is. And like a profit and loss statement is just basically, are you making money at the end of the day? And they're like, what about all these categories? I'm like, well, look, the IRS wants to know, do you need to pay taxes? Which means, did you make money? But they're not really uber concerned that your socks are in your silverware drawer. Now, if your socks are in your sock drawer, you as a business owner, your consultants can help you make better decisions, but it's not like going to be the end of the world, because there are some people that have really dirty books that are fine, because it means different things in different businesses. But I do think it takes that expertise, like you're sharing with what you're doing with your clients, to make sense of things, because I bet you when you're doing it, you can tell the business owner exactly what they need to do in 15 or 20 minutes. I
Mhm.
can tell you everything you need to know about your financials in 15 or 20 minutes, but you need to be a part. You can't abdicate this. This is a valid, important part of the business, because you don't want surprises at the end of the day. And, we were talking with the business owner and they were going through some growth and they had people in place and people looking at things, and they came part of a cash crisis. They had a cash imperative in the business, and they're like, well, can we get a loan? And their part of their teammates said, no, we already have loans. She goes, wait, what? When did that happen? And you're like, probably happened along the way. And not to say somebody was doing something nefarious or illegal, but the consciousness, right? As the business owner, to know where your financial standing is. At the end of the day, the buck stops with you, but it's not going to be your bookkeeper's responsibility or your CPA's responsibility. In fact, your contract probably says they're not liable. It really does come down to the owner. So you have to be a participant.
And I'm okay with consistently inconsistent books.
Yeah.
They don't
So,
have to be perfect. But as long as they're consistently done imperfectly, I can live with that. And that's what I do. One of the things I've noticed is when business owners go from bookkeeper to bookkeeper, accountant to accountant, they all want to rearrange everything their way.
Yep.
And what I've done is we take your books the way they are, and then we rearrange them on our side. We don't touch your books.
Yeah.
Like your accountant, your book, do whatever the hell you want. Just consistently do it inconsistently, and I'll grab the data I need so that you know what's going on in your business. Just out of curiosity, since you work with a lot of business owners, because I think people need to hear this, do you see a lot of 7-figure business owners who are struggling or have no profit in their business?
It's very likely. This is a 7-figure business problem. It's the problem that people have when they're focusing on revenue. We talked a little bit about this previously before we got on air. When people are focused on 7-figure businesses, right? It's this magical unicorn, especially for a lot of small businesses, that when I get to 7 figures, poof, everything is going to be magical. And it's misleading because there are a lot of broke 7-figure business owners out there who are struggling to take home a reasonable salary. Like I'm talking a living wage in their business. And if you're at 7 figures in your business, you actually should be taking a pretty healthy salary and some profit draws and building up financial security and stability, because you can be an extremely, like our 7-figure businesses on average are netting probably between 36 and 50% net income. That means they're taking home half of what they're making. And that's a service business. So service businesses, the highest, expenses is the payroll line, right? So this can be done, but I think to your point is we're chasing profitability at a large revenue. We're ignoring profitability at a small revenue. So in the product-based world, they talk about MVPs, minimum viable product, right? Is this going to stick? I think for a lot of small businesses, you need to be talking about MVP in a different way. Minimum viable profitability. How small can your business be and be strongly profitable? Because if you are small and strongly profitable at a teeny tiny size, early 6 figures, let's say, then you have cash. If you have cash, you can invest. If you have cash, you can build financial stability and security. Then it's all about amplifying the cash, because more revenue does not equal more cash. There's a lot that happens in between the two. It is not the race to be running. But hey, if you want to hustle and grind your way and burn out, more power to you. That will definitely get you there. But if you're looking for something a little different, if you're ready to get off the hustle and grind bus, then really take a listen in, because the answer is going to be through profitability.
So how do we get out of the grind and the hustle and do that? Because that's what I tell people. You should not be grinding in your business unless you're in the tree grinding business, I guess.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it's going to take some action, right? It doesn't magically happen. And you're going to have to start off with different expectations of yourself and of your business. It is no longer okay to not be profitable. That is one of the things we have to do. Now, we're not going to blame shame you and wrap your fingers with this. It's a process to unwind, because it does take several different things to look at. And I know when we're coming in and looking at a business, we're always looking at what's the lowest hanging fruit. What is the easiest thing we can capture that we can bring cash back into the business? We're looking to activate cash. And for a lot of businesses, especially if you've been in business 2, 3, 5, 10 years, you have money that is hidden in the corners. It's just that you didn't know to go looking for it. And then we work on the things that are eroding your profit, because they're the obvious things, the things people know. And then there's some things that are quite hidden from sight.
And that's very true. A lot of times I can see the P&L and I go, something's wrong, but it's not in the P&L. And then
You
when
are
we
right.
start to have conversations, I start to go, oh, there's the problem.
Yeah.
Here's the problem.
Yeah.
You talked about service-based businesses. I look at utilization of employees. You're paying them for 8 hours. How much are they billing? People have all kinds of wild and crazy ideas of what's acceptable,
Yeah.
but they should be billing well. Now, why aren't they billing? Is it because you don't have good route scheduling? Is it because they showed up at the customer and they didn't have the parts they needed?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so those are just like that. And at the same point, did they go to the store and pick up 12 items,
Yeah.
charge the customer for 2, and the other 10 are sitting in the back of the truck, never to be found again? And so that's where the money got lost. There's mistakes.
Yeah.
Just, mistakes is probably one of the biggest ways businesses lose money. I mean, you can lose so much there, and all that you do is throw it in the garbage and it doesn't show up anywhere.
Yeah. And I think in some ways, I mean, certain mistakes happen. We've seen some companies that, where there's products and breakage happens and things like that. But you definitely want to minimize it. And to your point, and I think this is such an important thing to note. And I think this is why really as Your Biz Rules, we've evolved into that fractional C-suite, impacting all the areas of the business, is because any one issue is not really just about that one issue. So to your point, a money issue could be about team. It could be about process. It can be about system. It could be about training, or it could be about your own confidence. So we've seen situations where we've come in and looked at, like, to your point, billings and then discounting. And we're like, wait a minute, why are you discounting? And they're like, well, I mean, I looked at the number and it just felt really big. And I was worried about my client being willing to pay. And usually the person that's saying this is the owner of the business. And I don't know about you, but I love getting the owner out of that role as fast as I can, because I put an operational person, into that role, and they're not discounting. They're like, heck no, we worked for that. You need to pay for that. And then if they've got a late pay, they'll go and they'll call and be nice and friendly and warm, but they'll get the bill paid. But for an owner, you're just so close to it that you're having these emotional conversations with yourself. Will my client pay? Oh, should I call or should I not call? What will they say? Maybe they won't come back to me. Like all this judgment stuff that's just going on in your brain. And sometimes that alone is eroding your profitability.
That happens a lot. As a matter of fact, we just had that conversation with someone, and I'm
Yeah.
like, let your employee handle that from now on, please. You're
Uh-huh.
not allowed.
Yep.
You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do this. You just let someone else do it besides you, because that is a bit of a problem. The other thing that, talking about employees,
Mm.
we talked about all that emotional stuff with money.
Yeah.
Guess what? All your employees have emotional stuff with money. And if they don't know how to manage their money, they surely don't know how to manage your profit. And
Yeah.
so there are times where I'll actually go in for some of our clients and we'll do a money presentation on personal finance for their employees, so that we kind of help them get on a stronger footing so that they show up on work. They have
Yeah.
money to pay for the flat tire. They have money to pay for decent daycare. Like
Yeah.
all those things they're leaks that you don't necessarily see
Yeah.
inside the business.
And statistically, it's been proven financial literacy for the team, it will impact and strengthen the financial stability of the business because people are aware. And that's one of the arguments for things like open book management, which basically means you let your whole team see all of your books and everyone is working on the elements of the business that actually are the drivers that can actually improve profitability. For a lot of people, that's a lot of trust to get to. But I do think there's some level of transparency that you can find a comfortable place with your team to help them understand how they're impacting, how they're contributing, or how a certain maneuver would work. And we were talking, we both love profit first, and we hadn't talked about this, but I'm assuming like one of the profit buckets we commonly do is employee bonus, right? It's putting profits to be able to reward the team. Well, imagine if you shared with your team what the bucket was. But every time there was a mistake, every time there was lost equipment, every time there was something, it eroded that bucket. I'm going to tell you, you're going to have a team who is keeping each other accountable now, right? We've now empowered the team. We've given them a certain level of authority to impact the number. And if they impact that number, they're going to impact your numbers too, right? Everybody suddenly gets on the same page. They're on the same bus, going the same direction. And I think that's kind of the benefit of actually getting in charge of your numbers and bringing people onto the team that can help you do that so that you can actually bring the team on board too.
And be very careful with the numbers that you have them focus on, because they will hit that number. And if you haven't thought about the outcome of it, you can actually create incentives that are not to your best interest.
Very true.
We're very, very specific about that. And we're like, we really have to think through how you do that to make sure that it is correct.
Well, that's the role of strategy, right? That's the role of good strategy, is that you're thinking all the way through. And then you're mitigating the risks along the way. But I do agree, you need to be considerate of what you're doing. And you also need to be considerate of how you're expressing this, because you can take a confident team and make them worried really fast without the right context, without the right presentation. This is an art, if you will. It's what you're talking about too. There's a science, there's the ticky-tacks part of it, but it's also artful, so that you're actually moving the business in a positive way towards a positive ending.
And that's the case. And it all has to come together, and you've got to figure it out. And if it's not your thing, then do what the owl says and find your who.
Who do you know?
Who do you know? People like us who will help you stay focused on what you want to do. Yeah. The last area I want to kind of really hit on is sure. You said you've got the new book coming out, Scaling Rich. Yeah.
Yes.
How do we scale rich?
So Scaling Rich is about building that profitable business, empowering that team, and doing it in a way that it enriches your quality of life. And we find that when it enriches your life, it's enriching your team's life, who then enrich your client's life and gives you a nice triple win effect. But to get there, like if you are stuck into the hustle and grind, a lot of this does need work for the owner. And I won't say work as in hard work, but more intentionality. So one of the things that we find that business owners happen is along the way, the hustle and grind, you get worn down. You lose a little bit of the vision of why you started this business in the first place. The business that you have may not even be the business you intended to have at the end of the day. It's just somehow gotten away from you. And it's hard to know how to unravel that and not feel like you're going to capsize it. And yet at the same time, if you're really knee deep in this, you're probably wondering how you could shut the puppy down because you're just over and done with it. So we do look at a couple of things. So vision, where are we going? And we often say you can't get there if you don't know. So where's your vision? Then what we're looking at is aligning the business model. Are you profitable? Is the work of the business actually aligned with the vision of the company? Then we want to get the team on board. How do we empower the team? Most people don't manage a team. Most people are managing the tasks that your team are doing. And in that way, you never get out of the daily grind because you're consistently managing the task, not the people. So we work on that leadership and that strategy to unravel that and get the team to a much more empowered place. We've turned around so many teams this way. Usually we lose one-ish Sometimes we have that shedding, but all in all, you'll find that you have the rock stars you need. You just didn't give them the environment to be the rock star. So once the team is there, then you can start working on things like system and technology and growth because, hey, exponential growth is really easy nowadays and it's really fun. But all in all is doing it in a way that's sustainable. And profitability is a part of that.
Yes. And when you scale, your profit is supposed to scale with you.
Yes. And if you're growing, it's not going to.
Yeah. And so you have to understand that and how it all comes together and how those things work together.
Yeah. Because growth and scalability are necessary. But I think people think, oh, I'm done growing. I'm never going to grow again. Now I'm going to scale forever. And we just haven't seen that with businesses. It usually is a period of growth, followed by a period of scalability, followed by a period of growth. Now, timelines vary. You could be in scalability for a good long time, but chances are you'll hit a glass ceiling again. You'll have to break things down, go through a period of growth, and then you'll be able to capture all of that investment.
And that happens quite a bit. I
Yeah.
think that's so true. If people would like to learn more about you, your company, your services, how do they do that?
Sure. So super easy. We have a page just set up for your listeners. So if you're listening today, it's going to be at yourbizrules.com/PAM. So Pam or Profit Answer Man. So you're going to go there. We're going to give you the book discussion guide for First This and That. You'll be able to grab the books there. And then if you're ready to do things differently to get a different result, well, then you can click on a link. We'll chat and see if we can help you.
Awesome. We'll make sure to put that in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, well, thank you. I've had a great time.
Hey, thanks for listening to the entire unedited video of the Profit Answer Man podcast. You can actually get the full podcast in audio only format here on YouTube or any other of your favorite podcast players. Don't forget to go check out episodes 1 through 13. They lay out the foundation of Profit First in the book and how to get started. In addition, we've got hundreds of episodes for you to check out. And if you remember to subscribe, you'll always be updated when we put a new one out every single week. Thanks for listening. Have a profitable week.